Flying through the clouds like a 740. Still repping for the town, still repping for my guys, still repping for my sisters. Show them what it's like, never let them see me sweat. Fly high when the sun set, flying in the jet. 50 miles, I ain't done yet. Where I'm going next, I don't know I'm on the path that was destined. Thinking about my past transgressions, I'm letting off steam through the ozone. Airplane mode for the cell phone. Just made it to another milestone, digging through the clouds like they digging through the dirt. Sierra Leone, this is therapy. Apparently, they've been following parody, so I'm taking a stance of solidarity. I said I'm going far, far away, and I ain't looking back. Never the way I see it, I couldn't be regular. The audio editor flying high when the sun set, flying in the jet. 50 miles, I ain't done yet. Where I'm going next, I don't know. I'm on this path that was destined. I'm flying through the clouds like a 745. I ain't never coming down. I've been living in the sky, still working for the town, still working for my guys, still working for my sisters. Show them what it's like flying high like an eagle. 745, I ain't never coming down. I've been living in the sky, still working for the town, still working for my guys, still working for my sisters. Show them what it's like, show them what it's like, I'm looking at the forecast, all I see is sunny skies, trying to get some more cash out of the situation. I'm flying high, this is a demonstration. I rise, see the look in my eyes, I ain't faking. My team gotta prevail, I'm saying. I did it on my own, man, nigga never held my hand. I'm deep in the thoughts, you already know my stance. I take flight sky high, shit, cause I don't land, and I don't even have no landing gear. No wheels, I refuse to ride. Jet fuel for the fuselage, just nationwide till I die. One time for my bros, all I see is translucent skies, but let me vibe now. Flying through the clouds like a 745. I ain't never coming down. I've been living in the sky, still working for the town, still working for my guys, still working for my sisters. Show them what it's like flying high like an eagle. 745. I ain't never coming down. I've been living in the sky, still working for the town, still working for my guys, still working for my sisters. Show them what it's like. Please be sure to take that turn the upright long position. Your tray table is put away, and all hair and items are securely stood up. Come to the cabin on final safety check.
Melanated.
Look at him. Look, oral sex, demon. You see oral sex? Look, oral sex, look. You oral sex, use oral sex. Let that sperm of that man out. Out, you demon.
That nickel bug.
Let go.
Two songs about them. Demon came with his penis and
Wait a minute, family. We got Nickel B in the house. We gonna pause that and we gonna play some while we wait for people to get in the room. Yes, we is.
Can I be your heat? Can I be your heat? Can I be your heat? Upliftment of my ability to be regenerative, not only in sexual, relative, genital, reproductive orgasms, categorizing the tactics that makes us magnets, nor in drastic being sensual, cinematic potential. Just let me be your heat, that presidential suite, making bed sweet, and builders creep jealousy on the moon peak to take my breath away. Sweet shuttle scenes make me feel like stone. Provide electricity and automobile with me. Scratches on my back like me. Just let me be your heat. I wanna be your heat. But can I be your heat?
See, it wasn't nobody but you, me, and melanated in the room.
Categories unidentified. They tested and tried to put me in a box, but I can never fit inside. Wonder why? Probably because I just don't like they vibe. Bigger fish to fry.
At least I didn't do it when it was 20-something, so come out of hiding, ma'am. And it was good. Oh, you was probably one of them children that was like, I got a 95. I am so disappointed in myself. I was supposed to get 100. I was going to say 20 wax with a wet noodle for me, but no. 20 wax with a wet noodle for you, ma'am. See, I can't with you, madam. So how'd y'all like the show? Did y'all get some of y'all questions answered?
I've been shooting the boost like testing line. Why they pay you die? Cause I be fucking them ride. Yeah, they go pocket watching out again. Even if she was a 10, man. I got the heart like a 10, man. If she was bringing me down, I better go let the whole do it again, man. I hate shoes like it was paid for me.
He never said.
I made it out. I was getting my mama was praying for me. Working the pants, go to the box, pass me your pen. I'm making the dollar, loving them little thing. I take a deposit. Back when I'm on, like I've never been off. You couldn't get wrong, you niggas is soft. You really just part of the plan. You just got playing the claw. We not the same at all. A category unidentified. They tested and tried to put me in a box, but I can never fit inside. Wonder why? Probably because I just don't like they vibe. Bigger fish to fry. A category unidentified. They tested and tried to put me in a box, but I can never fit inside. Wonder why? Probably because I just don't like they vibe. Bigger fish to fry. My categories unidentified. I'm traveling on the same path that they do. I act straight from behind the regular shoe broken nose. Get some shit coast to coast. From the third coast to the fourth coast. It's back to the west side. It's back to the NY. It's off the meter, off the heater, out the speaker. No dumps in the mix. Move on a whole nother atlas. They wonder why. Big fish will move with the underside. These sexy alumni never come back with the masses. And I stay classy, no disturbance in my actions. I'm not excited like Hollow say. Monkey see monkey do, but shit not okay. First time round was the real plot. This time round is a kill shot. Ride till the wheel stop. Tell them again, this is the sequel. They better let the better pussy and give them a refill. Don't pump regular gas and shit.
That's Ren and Ted.
Let them pump 87, never change or make concessions. Never that.
I don't care, dog.
They tested and tried to put me in a box, but I can never fit inside.
Black girlfriend all at the time.
Just don't like they vibe. Bigger fish to fry.
But black girlfriend at the time, her daughter, Ren and Ted.
Categories unidentified. They tested and tried to put me in a box, but I can never fit inside. Wonder why? Probably because I just don't like they vibe. Bigger fish to fry.
No, la gente se...
No problem.
The pain is thick and my faith is weak. I should just get on my knees and look to the Lord and say, please lead me. Please forgive me. I never meant to forget that you always been beside me. And I hope you guide me to peace. Peace from those who deceive me. When I don't blame anyone but me. Because I should have known. I should have seen. That things ain't always what it seems. No one was wrong for undividedness. stability. Both decided to spend my life within a maze of misery. I stayed so long that finally I failed to save my sanity. But that's how it is. When they think you trust them, they take it and roll it. Thinking you will love them till you. My soul was already cleansed from the hate.
That pollen been eating my ass up today.
I've been down this road so many
And they been cutting grass all day.
This has become my story. Be inspired.
Y'all sitting over here talking about, you must be smoking good. I'm fucking choking,
Get into
man.
your own lives. That's how you get mine. I take away my story because it will make me a glory. Sit them in above me because I put it before me.
I'm speaking life into abundance, taking down into my content, searching through the waves. I ain't speaking no nonsense, never that. Cause I ain't got no time for the rah-rah. He said, she said, blah blah. Cause I got other shit that I can focus on, like this cheddar, bro. I'm out to get this cheese out from provolone. Spoken words, I'm just hoping that this focus don't curve when these two minds emerge. Let the venom purge. Poetry, emotion is poetic in true form, more like truth serum, permanent aura. Running through these maze of life, many days I sacrifice, still paying the price, wishing for paradise. Real talk, no parody, had a vision of clarity, but apparently this world had a different angle. So I channel my thoughts, I'm soaking up this energy like solar panels on top of the loft. I took a loss, but it's back to the grind. All I want to do is see my people shine. One more time, I took a loss, but it's back to the grind. Now all I want to do is see my people shine. One more time, one more time. One more time, one more time, one more time, one more time, one more time. Ride out. Yeah, it is all right. One time. Much love for it and kill for the intro. Yeah.
Thank you, darling. Do y'all have any questions that went on there?
Take your head down if you want to. It don't matter what it's all about you. When I pull up, we can do whatever that you want to. It don't matter what it's all about you. You can take your head down if you want to. It don't matter what it's all about you. When I pull up, we can do whatever that you want to. It don't matter what it's all about you. On the phone, making reservations, checking amenities and looking over the accommodations. Trying to make sure things is good for later on. Grown man shit, so dog and gators on. Went to pick her up, shorty looking like she winning. No makeup, no weed, dog. I started grinning. She got up in the whip, real spotted spent. She kissed the plum on the cheek. I treat great beginners. Where you trying to go? Baby, it's about you. If I want to get a bite to eat, well, I guess it's all about food. Whatever you want to do, we can do it, baby. Do it, baby. That moment you took your head down and mama say, pulled up to the spot. There's a parking whip. We hopped out, we'll be good laughing and talking shit. Went to the bar, grabbed a drink, dance floor. BSM, keep it lit, just check the last song. You can take your head down if you want to. It don't matter what it's all about you. When I pull up, we can do whatever that you want to. It don't matter what it's all about you. You can take your head down if you want to. It don't matter what it's all about you. When I pull up, we can do whatever that you want to. It don't matter what it's all about you. Relax your mind, leave your stress at the door. Your back reclines, your panties on that bedroom floor. I'm rock hard, I stone cold, that pussy sore. Collapse your thoughts, I put you in that bigger bowl. Yeah, my dick in your pussy, them building rapport.
Oh my.
To infliction, you just can't ignore. Bottles, crackers, champagne, I got cigars.
Did I run everybody off to the bathroom or something?
Like 10 yards or more. I know that's lame, but listen, I am your inquisition. I prescribe your prescription. Yeah. Put you in your detention. Can't teach you about a symptom, but teach you new positions. Yeah. You love it when I choke it and I fuck it slow. Put that dick, you feel it while I suck the towel. Yeah. You say that I'm nasty. I'm usually a dog like Lassie, but it's all about you. You can take your head down if you want.
Must be noise.
It's all about you.
Hey, hubby.
You want to. It don't matter, look, it's all about you. You can take your head down if you want to. It don't matter, look, it's all about you. When I pull up, we can do whatever that you want to.
I know you had said.
Rockin' while we vibe, absorbing harder while we rising, winding eyes, but shock surprise when you outside, just snatching out the backside. She glass of wine, a little puff or two, we vaping, elegant, the bliss will rub it like my touch to you was sacred every day. I wish to love you must have stuck up in your matrix. If this is assimilation, don't unplug me, let it stay in every lick and kiss, amazing, feeling buzzing, radiating every single inch of bodies in this moment that we make it.
No hesitation, I told her let me steer the wheel. I met her about a year ago. Every since the mama been giving me chills. Tired of fooling with these younger ladies. She mid-30s, but she look about 27, born in the 80s. I pulled up to the apartments while I sent the text. She came down wearing high heels and a red dress. I put the music down, low and blue smoke and roll the windows up. I'll tell you where we're going, let's go. You can take your head down if you want to. It don't matter, it's all about you. I'll pull up, we can do whatever that you want to. It don't matter, it's all about you.
Watch this rap nigga get all up in your guts. Plus banana, only chocolate the love. My little rock die, this rope, so fuck up. The gym play as we play, such and such. She bit on the hush, she cold with it. I brought the wall. I got the best of me. Move your panties and let me munch. I'm nasty. She got a dirty mind. She said, come on, record this. And she want me grind. I got this girl is gorgeous. With a high sex drive, I'm gonna make her forfeit. She moved the goal line. As much as I know this, I am the perfect size. There's no room on your warnings. Explore your freaky side. No more bed like this boring. I kick it and I die. She mentioned my performance. I'm saying my mind.
Check your head down if you want to. It don't matter, it's all about you. When I pull up, we can do whatever that you want to.
This is just weird. I'm looking at Clubhouse, y'all.
It don't matter, it's all about you. When I pull up, we can do whatever that you want to. It don't matter, look, it's all about you. Ride out. Ride out.
What I put up after this? Yeah, that'll do.
In the lab with DJ Vibes. DJ Vibes.
How you feeling though? Let's have a talk, baby girl. Put your phone on hush. I'm trying to put you in the zone. Take a shot, let your body adjust. It's just us, and the feeling is right. 10 o'clock, we got all night. You had a long day of work, baby girl. Now it's time to relax. No stress while the time lapse. Tell her I'm back, tell her collapse in a bag full of F's and salt. 20 minutes, we just laugh and talk. Conversation all over the place, but I like that shit. Me and you against the world, someone to fight back with. Taking us to another high grade, you open the flesh. Someone to feed my addiction and put my body at rest.
All about whack 100. do something upbeat with Ring My Bell. I'm gonna read you one of the titles of one of the rooms. I defeated Wack by myself. He lied. We got receipts.
No complaints on my end. I think you were savage. Top shelf, great, far from average. Far from average. Mentally, I'm doing backflips, thinking it's true. Waking up, I was thinking of you. Thought it all was a dream, but I woke good morning, stretching and yawning. Just another day, and I'm going in with a smile on my face. Thanks to you, you want me.
Oh, by Anita Ward. Ow. You can ring my bell. Ring my bell, ring-a-ling-a-ling. Ooh. Ooh. I guess notifications didn't go out.
Time ticking, ain't no changing paces, places changing up on niggas quickly. They ain't lost the race, but not the season. Once he started eating, niggas wanna beat him. What's they reason? Tiny little bag, niggas barely eat nothing. Fuck around and thought you had something, that's assuming. Something you think but don't have a clue. When I was rolling out the new shit, tired of how they do it. Some of the changes I've been making day to day is how I'm living. That's amazing how you lazy niggas wasting time. Running don't shine, so they gone before it's quitting time. We ain't stopping now, we never will. Nationwide niggas steady written, never trying to chill, moving for the spread.
Yeah, like a jazz guitar. Fast forward to cash drawers and photo cars.
Bring the board.
When I stay on track, it's a matter of fact, so I bring it back. Down to the jazz guitar. Fast forward to cash drawers and photo cars.
Bring the board.
When I stay on track, it's a matter of fact, so I bring it back. Really close,
I'm living to what I'm doing, yeah, I'm speaking real fast. Yeah, I know how I feel, lose it all and get it back. Long nights and long days in that cold sack. Hustling on 4 o'clock, leaving by a triple back. Man, this nigga stuck on, I ain't kitchen flow ass. Yeah, I'm all about my thriller, show me what a dope at. It's just self-explanatory, you just need to know that. By any means necessary, just to run up the chest. Started at a young age, had to learn to finesse. Extraordinary individual, I'm just nothing like the rest. Offset, I'm all about the dollar, big profit, I'm different. Don't have the money up front of man.
interest. I do whatever interests me. I don't need the spotlight, so my shit gets great. Tell them fall back. Nationwide, big on dummies. Fish clear, haters block on the sun. You can't do nothing for me. I'm spitting
My shit, but I did not miss. It'll leave me busy. I can work on the twist. I'm receiving the gift. I'm trapping shit. So when you spit my shit, I'm standing tall. No one way perfect. Feel no faults. Sometimes I slip, but I won't fall. I can try and walk, but I just gotta do it. Just spit my shit till I came right through it. You know how to do it. It's one the same. I'll talk to you straight to the crib at your night. Just time play, man. That's my game. Do this nigga, you insane.
yeah, play the jazz guitar. Fast forward to cash drawers and photo cars.
Bring the board.
When I stay on track, it's a matter of fact, so I bring it back. Right to the jazz guitar. Fast forward to cash drawers and photo cars.
Bring the board.
When I stay on track, it's a matter of fact, so I bring it back.
What books, Melanated? What are you talking about?
And look, I'm trying to balance out this vision while I still can. Stuck in this jam, trying to expand throughout this bullshit. Still stand, man.
What books are you looking for?
Sometimes some people don't want see no one shine. And that's a shame, but that's what it do. Sad but true. I put no sack in that which is fraudulent. I got a neck for the truth. Back to the booth, now let me reposition. Alright. And I figured it's time to get this order. Let's get it right. All I hear is bad news from the news reporters. Why? In this world, I see faces constantly changing. Lost in this maze and exhausted. It's making me face the equation. This life on vacation. It's like a big rotation. Stuck in flight, I can't quit. Not at all. This word's been on my chest. I'm glad I got it all for a time, for the purpose when I talk. Let me get this off. Right out.
Oh, are there any closed circle conversations coming up? Not that I know of. Not yet, anyway. We got a lot going on, hon. I told Khalil Almani he still owe me an interview because he does. Well, he laughed, but he'll probably hit me up when he got some time. I don't have anything else lined up right now per se. Chuck's kind of busy, so anything to do with New York is gonna be, kind of slow. But like you heard him say, he gonna come back. Tarnoonan floating around somewhere right now. I think he might pop up, and we'll be having some more interviews soon. But I'm moving at the end of May, so I'm gonna be down for like at least a week. So y'all won't see me for about a week. May, June, get DJ situated with his folks. And go house hunting. So let us get situated in our new spot, and then I'll see what else we got coming up. I had put out some feelers for some interviews, but some stuff just takes time. I'm tempted to make a joke about hair grease, but yeah, I do. Yeah, somebody finally bought the friggin' house. I can go home, y'all. Let me tell you now. I told my mama where I was gonna move to, and she was like, "You ain't gonna move home." I'm like, "It's like 45 minutes away." And she was like, because I told her, I said, houses cheaper over here. And she was like, they cheap here too. I just want to be lonely. And then the day I talked to her, and she was like, child, I was driving and I saw this house and it was about $200,000. And she said, ain't nobody finna pay that for that house. I said, I told you. Nothing else said about where I said I was moving to. Pack everything in a U-Haul and ride, baby. Ride. At least this time it's only a couple of hours away instead of cross country. Well, this last time it wasn't cross country. Yeah, right, melanated. I wish I hadn't, Everybody, Lord, you know what? Everybody in this. Everybody keep commenting on Musa head in that earlier video. Talking about his head look too big for his body. But yeah, y'all just wait, family. Y'all just wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow? Oh my. I'm live. He happy. Daddy just talked to her today, talking about I got 4 hogs and I'm gonna need you to help me pin them up and feed them. And so you got rid of all your hogs to go buy some more hogs. But at least that means he's feeling better. I will once I'm comfortable in my new home. Y'all should know me by now. I don't get excited by much like that outwardly. I'll be happy enough to look move. So I know that true peace.
True peace.
Y'all should know.
I'm good. What's popping?
Nothing much. Just chilling after we had Chuck on. We was just talking about Nature Boy and how it's similar to York in a way.
I mean, it's more than similar. I sent you a video. I think it was called Osiris. No, Nature Boy wasn't Osiris's first choice. You know, like Chuck and other people are very good in the dealing with the information as far as like the doctrines and certain things. Like I am as well, but I'm also very good in the spiritual aspect. And I said this 2 weeks ago before Nature Boy got arrested. When I was over there on Remy's channel, I was making it known that people need to understand that it's the patterns. Everything again, when people say things that is psychological, people need to understand that when you saying that, that doesn't clear out spirit forces or invisible forces influence. Because when you look into the word psyche or psychology, the root word, it goes back to spirits. So it's in spirit forces. So this is why I'm able to line up the videos how I line them up throughout the past. And I see more than just the physical person. and people need to understand that. And that was one of the troubling things that a lot of the beef that me and the Wapians were having, because they don't want to acknowledge. They see what they do is people in cults think that the knowledge that they're quoting also at the same time and simultaneously gives them rank in the spiritual aspect. And this is why when I was on his page, I said that a person that does exorcism, right, or a person that practice voodoo, or maybe have been a victim of somebody putting bad magic on them and they're working to get it off, have more spirituality, meaning experience, than most of the teachers that we got in the conscious community combined. Because the conscious community, if you look at these people, especially if you look at the guests that come on, let's say Sonnet and them, all these people are just book smart. But if they really had spiritual experiences, or they were so-called spiritual in the most upright sense, a lot of them wouldn't even go on Sonetta only because of the spiritual ramifications, because they would be able to see past the physical people that's constantly going through there,
They
who
see
have
that
the
portal in that
same
nasty couch.
right, and that energy they have to. That's why I said on Remy's page that you know, whenever somebody want to get into the conscious community to help poison our people, they come up through the toilet of Sarnetta. And so I give these type of explanations because people need to understand that that's exactly what they're doing. You're coming up from the nastiness of the sewer up through the toilet, and our people are there with cups, dipping it in or getting it, scooping it off the floor, and they're ingesting it. But they're pointing at the other people like, y'all nasty, but y'all are right there at the toilet. Y'all show up at the toilet in a line with a cup and a straw, and y'all take this stuff in. Most of the people that come on Sarnetta are not spiritually experienced, and they are just as brainwashed in a different classroom in the same school. This is how insane spiritually it's all intertwined. And so, you know, Nature Boy, like I said, these people are spiritually violated via somebody physically, and that sets them on the path. So when you see a Dr. York or Elijah Muhammad or Warren or whoever, whatever human being you name that's in this particular cult setting, it's no different than the average drug dealer. The average drug dealer.
Peace and welcome.
The average. Say again.
I said the average drug dealer.
Right, the average drug dealer, they do the same thing. They come up, they get on the block. If they the ones that really make it, they come up, they get the clothes, they get the chains, they get the big cars, and they expand. Then they might get up there like Big Meech or somebody, and then they get popped, and then it goes down. Then somebody else rises up and do the same thing. People are not able to see past how is it that it always goes the same way, no matter what the race is. And people are like, oh, that's because it's just the government. Oh, it's just because of this. They fail to see the metaphysical part of it. And this is why I was saying that people are not spiritual in the sense that they lack that mentality to see past the basics of them saying, oh, this is psychology. Oh, this is what people call it. Yeah, but it goes further than that. And that's why in Noon, and I appreciate Noon Sign, because Noon helps me identify that which cannot be seen. And then I'm able to look into the patterns of it as a scientist. And then I'm able to bring things to y'all so y'all can see it on a clearer note. I don't want to be long-winded. I'm sorry. And if you wanted to talk, I'm sorry. I didn't want to just jump in like that.
You fine. I wasn't talking when you got up here.
Okay.
Just listen to music. We're not doing nothing. This is an after show. So what was the first thing that flashed to your mind when you heard Nature Boy got arrested?
I had predicted it when I was on Remy's show 2 weeks ago. I said that after February 5th, 2022, the smoke screen is over. And I said everybody y'all gonna see after that is going to present themselves long enough for people to see who they are, and then they will be removed. I even said that some of these people are not going to live long enough to see somebody's prison because it's a time and cycle of justice that we're in that is also at play. In noon, we call those justice forces. The justice forces are those negative forces of nature that will do all of the dirty work that balance off the things that human beings were not able to take care of themselves. When you and Chuck were saying like, oh yeah, Nature Boy, Dr. York, and all these different people was able through the negative cycle was able to get a bunch of people coming in, just the revolving door. And these people will come in, get used and abused, broken, sent back out, back to their family. Some people died, like Mama Dia, all these different people, and nothing was done to the actual person who everybody who had enough sense to see was the wrongdoer. So there are forces that exist that will utilize, sometimes it will utilize the police, sometimes the justice forces will just take them out, through dying in sleep or freak accident. It's many, many ways that justice will be done because the country that we live in, the countries around the world, unfortunately have these things set up. So again, when you was asking Chuck those questions or people was asking them about, if something need to be done, first of all, y'all have to realize that there's a law in that is in place in America, and the Constitution is what? Freedom of religion. So that have to be first dismantled if you're going to be able to try to stop the little people. But then the big religions are the real parents of all of these little smaller groups that spawn these cult leaders. Because a cult leader, when you really look at it, he has a belief that has a core belief that extends from some type of religion, even if the religion doesn't particularly say the certain things that they say. Their belief runs back to religion. So now you have to revamp your question and then look at it from a bigger perspective. If the cult leader is a problem in our communities, and they all come from some type of religion, then that means the religion is the problem. It's the source of the problem physically. But then the religion itself has a spiritual belief system and powers in the religion, because the religions wouldn't have millions of people in it for
But cults
decades.
don't just manifest around religions.
Say it again.
Cults don't just manifest around religions.
Well, what I'm saying is religion is just a word that describes a bunch of spirit forces that have created things that control and stimulate leaders, and then you have other spirits that control these people that will rush and bring them in for days and decades, and then it balloons up, and that's what they call it. But anybody can create a religion. It's just a bunch of belief systems. I can create a religion, but if I don't have the spirit forces to back me, and then that will bring forces and bring other people to me to grow into that particular type of thing. That's what people not understanding. You can't stop a cult leader or cult leaders, because what's controlling them is invisible, and what we have you can't do nothing about that. You can't do nothing about a god of religion. You can't do that because it's a god or a goddess. It's other forces that exist that have to remove them when the time is right. And so that's why we're going to keep continuing. But guess what? We're in a better time now, that all of these people, it ain't just the cult leaders, people that's doing wrong in general. We in a war between right and wrong. And that means there's universal standards, like oxygen is a universal standard, right? We all know you need the oxygen to breathe. Eating is a universal standard. Drinking is a universal standard. So certain things it doesn't change no matter what time it is. Certain things are just going to constantly be universal no matter what human beings do on different levels. Like it may be right to not castrate a rapist in America, but over in Brazil or another country, castration is absolutely the way to go. You see what I'm saying? Or whatever the case may be. And so that's our problem in America, because we keep having conversations and we're powerless in the sense, or we keep overextending, or we over stigmatize each other, like through Sarnetta and the rest of them. They'll tell you, oh, the white man this and the white man that, or the government this and government that. And then and I keep asking them, I say, okay, well, y'all don't got nothing in place. So when the drug dealer or the rapist or the pedophile or whatever is in y'all neighborhood causing havoc, we can't call the Sarnetta Police Department. We can't call the Tariq Nasheed Federal Bureau of Investigation. Y'all ain't got nothing in place. So y'all teaching people not to call whatever law, you know, that do exist enforcement. Then what do they do? Y'all telling thousands of people, oh, snitching is wrong, or going to the police is wrong. You're creating another place for them to be stuck. And guess what they do? They just come right on the television or the YouTube and just talk about something and nothing gets done. And everybody's like, well, if I go to the police, the black community is going to consider me this. But see, those same people that's calling us all these names, let something happen to somebody in their family, a lot of them are not going to sit there. They're going to go do something. They're going to call the police. They're going to justify, oh, I want to got my pistol. We wouldn't handle that. But 2 weeks or 2 years ago, when it was happening to Hassan Campbell or whatever, y'all was talking all these names. Y'all was calling people these type of names. Same thing with Polite. Polite did all that dirt and then would take the same doctrine and then tell y'all, oh, now y'all want to go to the white man on me and this and that. And people just go right back to sleep and then justify, like, yeah, you're right. But y'all ain't going to do nothing. That's like he said. He just like that guy, what his name? Sin for the P. You remember him?
Yeah, he's still floating around somewhere.
Right. I seen an interview when he had got out of trouble for that young girl he claimed he didn't know was underage, that he got her pregnant and all that stuff. He was actually talking to the conscious community, and he was saying, if y'all was so real, when I got out of jail, y'all should have took care of that. He said, y'all ain't do nothing. That's the boldness of the spirits, because they know that the surrounding and the time zone and the people they're talking to are not going to do nothing. They're just going to talk, and that's it. Or they're going to use some type of belligerent doctrine and stress and just string it all together and sit here and act like we the judge and jury, but we're not going to do anything. We're just going to keep talking. We're going to keep talking. We're going to keep talking, and nothing will get done. And so I just, that's why I said what I said.
Education is a part of doing something.
Say it again. Yeah, to an extent, but it's but you have to understand where we at the way America is set up, and that's why we look the way we look, because we don't realize what America is spiritually. We don't realize these governments. Like right now, when I was floating around in the Q movement and stuff about 2 years ago, and looking at a lot of the things that they were putting out before they went on this great cleansing of YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and got them out of there, when they was exposing a lot of stuff that was going on with the thing with Trump and the messing with the election, which they proved. They did a recount. I don't know if y'all knew about that, but they did some of the recount and found out a lot of the votes that they got were, manufactured. They was playing with the voting machines. All that stuff been proven already. But they made sure they told it on a lower level news in certain places where they did a recount. And so that's been proven. Now the Hunter Biden laptop thing came out.
Hey, we don't do that over here, Todd Noonan. You see the
What's
question from Melanated?
Who that?
You know that political talk will get your channel struck down. I said, you see the question from Melanated. I put it on the screen.
Oh, what is the likelihood of John MB other children carry his torch? I don't know who Ja is.
Ja is the baby that's down there now with them, or over there now with them.
Well, fortunately, it's not going to be too long. It's not going to continue on. See, that's another problem too. That a lot of the people around are not aware of the time we're in, which is not going to continue on indefinitely. And that's the thing. What y'all should be doing again. This is the stuff that I'm bringing up. Again, I was bringing that up. Well, I just be likely. The stuff that's going on in the political world is stuff that they was trying to suppress 2 years ago, and a lot of things is coming down. Like Disney World. Disney World is finna be shut down because of what it really is. And they're breaking down on the tax status and all this other stuff. And they arrested 100. Did you know that it was 108 employees about a month ago got arrested in Disney World for pedophilia?
About every 3 months they do that.
So
it's between 50 and 150 every time.
So the thing is this: if you on your, again, let's say you work at Popeyes, if you practicing pedophilia on your job, that means your job has to be a hub for that. You understand? You can't practice something at your job at that level, like you said, every couple months, unless there's some type of organization of that going on. So now that the cycle has changed, a lot of organizations that had all this money and influence and able to pay people from top to the bottom down to the local police with all the stuff that's going on, these places are now going to get exposed and shut down, and it's going to set off a chain reaction. And I said all that to say this: those little children or little seeds that we done seen grow up like Prince York, it's not finna, that's finna change. I told y'all within 2 years and a couple of months, none of this stuff is gonna be what y'all seeing now, because now we at that point that the Armageddon is now taking place to where a regular person can see it. What y'all seen happen with Nature Boy is finna happen quicker and quicker, and you're gonna see all types of people going down, from the smallest to the biggest. So you have to learn to look at metaphysically. Like I told you, if you have a smaller version of a bigger version. So if I see a lot of little people going to jail, it's happening on a bigger scale too. And people just need to understand it. And just because you don't see it, that don't mean it's not happening, but it does exist. Like we exist. We part of positivity. We, like you said, we putting out information that's identifying what's going on. We're not in the media per se, and it is people that's in the media who are doing the same thing. They just didn't have the people to help them, to protect them, like Julia Assange and Snowden and all these whistleblowers. They had to leave the country. Some of them went to jail. Some of them got killed. But the point is that the war between right and wrong always existed, no matter who's ruling. And so that happened with Nature Boy. Like I said, y'all gonna see more people that's gonna be running to take their place. Let me ask you this, because I ain't been keeping up with what's the thing with Polite? Like
he
when is
still
that?
got court on May 13th.
Is he they pushing this back? Like what is really going on with that?
They only pushed it back once because they assigned a trial attorney. She asked for time to go over the case, and they gave it to May 13th.
And then this
is normal court procedure. This ain't even been in the works for a year.
And then what about the girl? Has she been quiet? The mama and the daughter? Like, what's going on with that?
The daughter's never been identified, and the mother hasn't said anything as far as I know.
And that's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But so again, same thing with him. He's still riding around. I peep in and out. I seen him. He was doing something on him, and he's sitting in the car with that ridiculous hat on, talking about getting paid. Yeah, it's a matter of time. They circling the drain, but it just shows you how loose negativity is and how people don't really care about what they're doing to other folks. And it eventually it's piling up, and now people got to start. People in power have to do their job. So that would, if and I think I over answered the person's question, but it's not going to be a little jar. It's not going to grow it to be a big. It's not. It's all this stuff in it is running on a time schedule. So it's not going to just keep going and going. You know, 2 generations later, it's going to be, nature boy. Nature grandson of it's not going to be none of that stuff. All that stuff is going out. If anybody have any in touch and tune with the spirit world or any type of high spiritual degree of information and who can see the signs of the times, y'all should be to see that this is the end of it. You're at the tail end of what people been saying is going to be the end for a couple of decades. This is real now. The crying wolf game is over. After February 5th, 2022, everything y'all seeing now is in real time, and it's just as being done. And I hope I make sense. Somebody said, please don't speak Frank up. So yeah, what she said, Nick was BTV at universe is working most definitely. All right, most people just don't understand. I just speak in different terms, but all the universes are going through something similar. And like you said, it was just a matter of time. Just keep looking. Things is going to be different. The power of the viewer, is. Let me see, Trip. You remember that movie that Schwarzenegger was in called The Running Man?
Yeah.
It came out in '89, and all of the people just
Stop
watching.
Stephen King novel. Yep.
Right. So YouTube and Twitter and Instagram, all those different places is going to turn into that in the positive though. Instead of people being corrupt, watching these corrupt people use other criminals to entertain them so they can be distracted from their lowly lives and realize they being played and pimped. This year, moving forward, people are going to see real justice being done in front of them. And that's the message that I kind of like return to say, right, but not just get your popcorn, but also just be prepared, get your surroundings prepared, just really watch yourselves, try to get into spiritual cleansing, try to get more in tune with higher vibrations, because people are being separated, and the negative forces that made the good people look bad and the bad people look good, all of that is changing now. And now, like, we can see it because we've been watching it for so long. But look at the victims of like people like Nature Boy and them. When you showed that clip of him cussing at the girl and breaking her down see, these people have no life experience. They don't know what a narcissist is. They don't know what none of this stuff is. They don't know anything. And you have many people that exist like that just because of just coming from a broken home will set you on a path of mental and spiritual abuse. Parents not being in the home and coming up struggling and striving and being, betrayed by close people, bad marriages, relationships going wrong, all types of things. You lost your job, somebody you cared about died, a freak accident, or you just looking into the world and seeing so much negativity back to back and it's affecting you. And people are looking for someone. Again, this is why religion is dangerous, because religions like Christianity have people looking for a savior, and then it allows a vacuum to sit there, and then anybody can come in there, and if they got the right energy, the right spiritual magnetism, because anybody can be charismatic, but that don't mean you're a cult leader or the spirit force is going to choose you. That's not how that works, and that's the problem that I have with individuals who just say these things because they're not spiritually aware. Just because I got the gift of gab, that don't mean I can do what Polite do. That don't mean I can do what Dr. York did. It's spiritual components. You know, the person who they was born, where they was born, the time they was born, their parents, their life path, all these things when you start doing, you know, dealing with numerology, gematria, astrology, you know, all types of the type of spiritual type of information that tells you about a person's life path, the natal chart, stuff like that. That makes it. That makes all the difference. So you're not everybody. That's why you ain't had another Malcolm. That's why you ain't had another Martin Luther King. That's why you ain't had another Muhammad Ali. Because these people are not born every day. You see, but you got a lot of regular people like us born every day. Look at all of us that's on YouTube, right? That's been putting out information for years. Ain't none of us channels going viral like other people. Or somebody else can come on here and drop something dumb, and they got millions and millions of views. That's because the forces that's behind them and who they was destined to do that. That's why we'll sit up here, keep doing what we doing, and all of our views together ain't gonna touch the views of other people that put out a bunch of garbage. And so we have to understand where we at. We have to understand the spiritual side of things and why these forces choose certain individuals to promote. And that's why it keeps happening and happening and happening and happening and happening and happening and happening until the cycle eventually closes itself out. And you know when it's closed? When they remove that person and no one shows up any longer. That's how you know it's over. Or every time you see a nature boy creep up, boom, they don't last long. Look at that. Look how long he lasted this time. You see what I'm saying? His power dwindled. He wasn't outside. Is it true? Let me ask you this. Is it true that his followers was messing around with PPP loans?
That's what they've been saying.
Yeah, so he definitely done. His spirit set him up. Like York's spirit set him up. So they hit a pinnacle, and then the forces leave them in a bind that they can't get out of. And that is and so yeah, that's it. Just like all them black people, the Spanish people who fell for that PPP crap during the pandemic, the feds are still going around hitting people up and they getting locked behind that. And they ain't making us fuss about it on the news, but the news that I'm into and listen to, they steady scooping them up. So of course he ain't finna get out of that. Now he done mess around with that too. Yeah, it's over.
And Melanated says Frank swears he did nothing wrong and he has nothing to apologize for. What is your position on that?
Talking about with Polite and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tell you something that old folks say. The Bible and other places, they say what? Birds of a feather flock together. That's it. Watch the company you keep. It's easy. So he don't have to apologize. His actions speak and show that he was guilty of that. He guilty by association. We already know that. That's justification because Sarnetta is a criminal too. He doesn't have any real moral standards. His morals is very low. He don't care. And this is why he continues to divide the black community. I told y'all, if you go back to my YouTube and look at the videos I did on the rise and fall of the apartment house of convicts, I showed you in those 9 videos why these things are occurring. Number 2, the same way they like to have the Hebrews and stuff on there, and they tell Sarnetta, you are who your father is and all of that. Sarnetta, father is Dominican. He's not black. He's not African. But y'all don't understand what that means spiritually. All right? Just like animals have natural enemies on the planet, so do human beings. And just because Sarnetta got melanin, that don't mean he has any alignment with African people. You got white people that live in South Africa and consider themselves Afrikaans, but they don't give a damn about the original inhabitants. So just because Sarnetta lives in Harlem and he speak your language and wear African hats one day, and then talk bad about Africans and black people another day, and y'all niggas this and y'all niggas that, and all these different things, that don't mean that he's aligned with you. So in my science, we understand that races are different and opposites. So he's mankind. His hair's not kinky. He's not African. But he sits there, and if you don't have any knowledge, you'll think that Sarnetta is down with African people because he has Sarnetta and an African sign as a logo. That don't mean that.
We been knew that.
You know, but people don't understand that though. Like, you have to really see. We know how to identify people of a lighter skin tone. You know, or you know, I'll give you a good example how ignorance works. For years, and this is not a shot at my parents. For years, I watched the Duke boys, the Dukes of Hazzard, and I watched it faithfully when I was young. I loved the card and and seeing the white boy Daisy Duke, but never once did I know that the X on the side of the damn car was a racist symbol. So for years, I'm loving the General Lee and thinking that Duke boys was cool, but that was a racist television show. Boss Hogg was equivalent to somebody that was a slave master back in slavery days. So imagine the level of ignorance we had to be up under to just take in all these things. So it's ignorance upon ignorance. And so when we don't understand these things, that's why you have to have knowledge, correct information, high reasonability, understanding of spirituality, meaning spirit forces, the invisible world, what moves people to do the things that they're doing, then we'll be able to properly analyze and stop saying the same thing. Well, why does such and such keep doing this? Why? You understand? Because we lack the ability to identify that which we cannot see, but the patterns exist. Like y'all did today, you and Chuck was talking about Nature Boy's spiritual pattern is the same pattern of Dr. York. Dr. York's spiritual pattern was the same as somebody that was before him. And it keep going and going and going and going and going and going. And until we update ourselves, that's when we're gonna have these same questions keep coming up and over and over. And anybody who's looking for Sarnetta to apologize for what? That is, you know, that makes, even if he did, it means nothing. How many times he done apologize and turn around and cuss Tripsy out and call out her name or some of her guests? He don't care about none of that. That's why I said, what are the rules of Black Power? Just because the person get up there, peace and Black Power family, and then you turn around and you call people that's really Black and African all types of names. I don't see you over there calling your Dominican side of your race all these names. The same way he got mad at Brother Malik when Brother Malik kept saying certain things about his guests, and he came out and was like, well, you know, you need to worry about, you know, the Spanish side or your Dominican side of stuff. Stay out of Black people's business, and brought up some other personal information that had nothing to do with nothing, but because he didn't like the fact that he was being called out on something he know he was guilty of. So this is the stuff that we're talking about. Y'all have to get into more proper identification. The same way you wouldn't let a KKK member come in and plot themselves in your midst, knowing what they are. You need to learn how to properly identify people. Just because they have what's termed melanin doesn't mean they the same. Like they say, all skin folks ain't kin folks. In this case, people that got melanin don't mean that they part of your race. And every race have a different nature. Just because you Black and I'm Black, that don't mean we got the same nature. Our background, our genetics, all of that stuff are different. And this is why I can't have real conversations with a lot of people, because they don't have that type of knowledge involved when they're talking about people. Like I said, Eliseo Bishop, his name isn't even African. Even though he got kinky hair, when I had to really, really look at him and dig into his background a little bit, when you got people that's named things that don't even look right, like you look at Chinese people, right? Asian, a real Asian, and his name is Bob something. You're gonna like that don't make no sense. Because we are gone the same way black people. How you go from Kunta, just using that as an example, to from Kunta to what the name is Toby. So it's the same thing with us. A lot of us got names, and it tells you about what took place in the history. So we got all these names. If we claim we from over on another part of the globe, or even from culture that was here, we don't carry none of those names. And then you got some of who got names who don't live the culture. So it's a mixed match because America, the way it's set up, allows us that, again, all that falls under freedom of religion. But you got to realize when they put in freedom of religion, they wasn't talking all these other religions that's here now wasn't here then. Freedom of religion just meant freedom of the Caucasians who wanted to practice Christianity that was different from the strictness of the Catholic Church. So you have to look at the context. So today they just extended it and acknowledge other religions, but they don't really mean that in the root of it. And if you say we believe in the practice of or the freedom of religion, what about religions that believe in sacrificing humans? What about religion that believe in sacrificing animals and doing all other type of stuff that falls under religion? So it's things that we are not looking at. That's why Florida had that problem a couple of years ago where people said, okay, well, if y'all can practice, bring God into the school, then we should be to worship Satan. And then they now around certain parts of America, they got satanic statues in certain places, downtown and all these different type of thing that's going on. And we are not understanding because we're too distracted. And then it's a lot of us are just not into learning about what's going on up to date. Like we put too much time and energy into certain things. What is it? She said, what are the rules of our culture as a whole? Because if we had more pride in who we are as African Americans, nobody would ever cross that line to call you derogatory remarks without consequence. That's what I'm saying. This goes back to spirituality. You there, Trip?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay,
I had it on mute.
okay, I'm sorry. Again,
Ain't no problem.
okay, so you got to understand too. How do you say her? Is that a she?
Nick will be.
Okay, Nick will be. All right, you got to once again, if you know anything about me and how I talk, and if you've been to my website fine9news.com and looked at some of the books, we deal with the cycle and seasons, and rules and laws are different. Human beings have laws, and then human beings have rules, and then you got human beings have codes, like gangs. Gangs got codes, or the streets got codes, or you got the girl code or the bro code. Those are codes. Some of them can be interchangeable with rules, or you got rules like, okay, when I go to my mama house, I got to take my shoes off. Those are rules, but that's not universal. See? So then you start talking about laws. Laws, like you got laws in America that, again, that are not universal. Like with the police, they have the Miranda rights, right? So that means anywhere in America or whatever, or even in Hawaii, whatever, if you get stopped by the police, the law is that they supposed to, read you your rights and all this other stuff and follow a procedure. That's a law. And noon, a law is anything that repeats itself the same way every time. Consistently, that's a law. I'm gonna give you a good example. If you jump off a building, you're gonna go down every single time. If you put air in a balloon and let it go, it's gonna go up every single time. So rules are not universal, and they only can be applied in certain areas on the planet and in certain existences. The same way how we live today If you ran the clock back 500 years ago, they don't do that, or even lesser. So people have to know, again, it's about their spirituality. See, a culture comes with spirituality too. Okay? So that means if you went to a Native American tribe or to an African tribe or whatever, they got spirits that they deal with, what they call ancestors. And they spirits and they ancestors that are active with them, not just some that they're saying out their mouth, right? We're talking about spirits who have ancestors that they're in tune with, that consistently have a lifestyle that they go by. Now, let me go a little bit further. When you get into something, I'm gonna tell you one of the things that that most of our so-called black teachers didn't never teach, and that I found out studying myself, is something called a natal chart. Trip, have you ever heard of the natal chart?
Yes.
Okay. When you start studying your natal chart, if you were lucky to know what time that you were born, go and get your natal chart done, whether it's free or pay a professional, right? The natal chart will have all of the planets. Hold on, let me show you something. These are two books that I've written, right? This is here called The Solar Cycles and the Coming of Nupu, right? Can you see that?
Yes.
All right. That right there is how your natal chart will look if you go on the website. And I got another one, Nupu Revelations Interpretation, Chapter 1. This is a natal chart. All right. When you get into natal charts, what you find out is you have the planets. It's like a snapshot. What I just showed you is a snapshot the moment you was born. Those planets were all in a certain position when you was born. The same way the doctor and the nurses are present when you were born, those planets and satellites was doing the same thing. They all were there when you was born. And guess what happened? They all electrified and sent down certain energies, and they all put together. They put a spiritual fingerprint on you, as well as me and everybody else that's born every second on the second during our lives. When you start getting into studying where each planet was at certain points, even today, they affect your life. Our ancestors live by that. The zodiac, they just gave you a little bit of that by saying, yeah, you're a Capricorn. That's not all you are. When you start studying that, you start realizing, okay, my descendant sign is this. My rising sign is this. Then you have to study, okay, what does that mean? That means if you born a Capricorn, right? And depending on the degree, if you 0 to 10 degrees, you're a strong Capricorn. 11 degree all the way up to the 30th, you have influence of the next earth sign that come out the Capricorn. Stuff like that. And so what happens is that is who you are. Now, say your rising sign is, say, Cancer. You're going to give off Cancer vibes to people because that's who they see when they first meet you. But your real you is the Capricorn. That's just two signs. These are two planets, right? Now, peep this. Every 2 hours, Earth, our planet, goes through a zodiac sign every 2 hours. So guess what? Not only am I being affected by, say, me being a Capricorn, and then I'm a Cancer rising. Now I'm those energies are flowing through me, and now every 2 hours I'm going through a zodiac sign. Now we ain't even talking about your north node, which is your past life, and your south node, which is your present life. And you trying to figure out, and all your negative stuff, you trying to figure out, you got past life things that's going on. You may have karmic debt that you had to pay off from a past life. Then you end up in karmic relationships where certain people are sent in your life to make you repeat certain lessons to pay off certain debt that you have done. You understand? All of these things that you find out when you start messing around with your natal chart, midhavens, you got all these different things. This is the stuff that I would start learning about. And when I seen that, then I understood, like, okay, this is why it doesn't make sense for people to be going out just randomly dating folk, because you don't know that the person you ran into is gonna, they don't know who they don't know they natal chart. They don't know what their life path is, and everybody been running around bumping into each other and doing certain things. And then you got the planets. A lot of these planets don't get along. Then you got to learn about conjunctions. You got to know about transits, trines, sextiles, and these orbs go through different types of stuff. It's so complicated, but it's necessary to know that, because if people knew their natal charts, the first thing you would do, if I met a female and she asked me, you know, hey, what's your name? I like you. First of all, I'm gonna ask her, what you know about natal charts? If she said, I don't know what you're talking about, that's a strike. Because I understand now, after going through all of the hell that I went through, I realize that this is an integral point of why we need to know about ourselves. Because your life path is in your natal chart, and that stuff is deep, because it's
You want to
different.
do my natal chart?
That'll take a while, Trip. We have to like literally go on into, I have to probably go onto a website, which I could, but you have to put your date and time in it. Like if you go to astroseek.com.
I don't know what time I was born.
You don't?
Mm-mm.
See, that makes it difficult, because it like I said, down to the moment, the minute and second, that you wouldn't want to know that, because then it'll make your reading more accurate. So
The
I'm saying,
hospital where I was born burnt down, and the courthouse where my birth certificate was housed is burnt down, and I'm adopted. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So yeah, you have to, damn. That'll be hard. That'll be hard, because you know what I'm saying, you running the risk. So I'm telling everybody who can hear my voice, you definitely need to look into that. Look into your natal charts. If y'all are lucky enough to know the time that you were born, just go online, and it's free natal charts. But like I said, you may need somebody who does that. I'm self-taught. I'm still teaching myself. But it's people you can pay that'll run your whole thing down and give you a basic breakdown on your life, your past life and stuff. But then it's going to be on you still to have to consistently read into it. And then it'll help you look at other people too. Nature Boy used to talk about that a little while, I think a couple years ago, about his natal chart. And then he realized he didn't have his right birth time down, so all the information he was kicking about him in his natal chart was incorrect. He had to backtrack. And so these are issues that people need to, understand. You need to understand that this is insane. And so we're running around here mixing and matching with people or following people that if you knew their natal chart, you would avoid them. Just off that alone, you wouldn't have to guess or have to go through the abuse to realize, wait a minute. But like I said, you got twin flames, you got soul flames, you got, soul ties, these soul contracts that connect you with another person from life to life. It's so many things. Stuff called karmic axis. You got karmic astrology. It's different versions. You even got a zodiac, a biology zodiac, where instead of the planets and human beings have signs, the planets have body parts that they're assigned to and that they control and affect certain body parts. So it's levels and levels and levels and levels and levels and levels. And this is why we have the problem that we're facing on a regular, because we're so ignorant. The leaders we're listening to are ignorant. Because if they knew just the basic stuff that I just mentioned in the last 10 minutes about NATOs, they wouldn't want to be involved with a whole bunch of people, because you have to realize you now are playing with a bunch of random anomalies. You just got a whole bunch of people in your congregation with question marks because you don't know them. You really don't know them. They don't know themselves. They don't know that, like, when a planet goes into retrograde, like Mercury, right? I found out this stuff the hard way. When Mercury goes into retrograde, Mercury is the planet of communication on all levels, whether it's text, computers, cell phones, whatever. When that planet goes into retrograde, when it appears to go backwards, it affects any type of communication for as long as it's in retrograde. So that means if you don't understand when these planets are going through these certain transitions, they affect certain things on the planet and human beings and situations. Then on top of that, you see this right here. I got stones now that I'm into. Certain stones you have to learn what they do that will help ease these transitions when these planets are going through these motions and it's affecting people on the planet. So once again, this is why we need to have a better understanding of who we are and our surroundings on this level, but above us. And this is why I say, if we knew more about ourselves, we would definitely be able to look at people on the outside and be understanding. So we'd be like, so Mercury's in retrograde in Capricorn at such and such degrees, and then you able to see that your relationship, say you're trying to have a conversation with somebody in your relationship and it's not working, you would understand that and say, okay, so well, Mercury gonna be in retrograde for 2 weeks. I'm a lean back for 2 weeks because that's gonna affect my conversation with this person I'm trying to have a conversation with. All the planets do different things. And these energies and transits, all that stuff, you got to understand what this stuff means. And when you do, it'll make everything on the outside. It's like watching a movie, and instead of it looking like you're watching a foreign movie where you don't understand the language, there's no subtitles, you don't understand what's going on. NATO charts help you see the subtitles. It helps you understand the surroundings. It helps you understand, okay, this is the good guy, this is the bad guy, this is, but when you're watching a foreign film and you can't gather anything, that's how life is, not knowing who we are. And yeah, I think there is a solar eclipse on the 30th that's coming. You're exactly right. And I think it's supposed to be a solar and a lunar. But I know a solar eclipse is coming on the 30th. See, so somebody in your chat is aware of some of these things. New moons, full moons, pink moons, wolf moons. It's mad stuff that you have to now understand that it affects you and your surroundings. This stuff is not there for no reason. People didn't make this stuff up. And it does affect us over and over and over. And I think that's why I tell Remy when I'm on his channel that if the people that y'all are listening to are not speaking in this type of manner, stop listening to them, because they're not going to educate you on how to really see things. That's why the ancestor said, know yourself. Natal chart is me looking into myself. I'm not studying my natal chart to see how messed up Nature Boy is or Dr. York or whoever. My natal chart is telling me what my life path is, so I know how messed up I am on how messed up I was and certain things that went into my path. And I look back at my life and say, oh, snap. Because the natal chart is like a time machine, as well as it's a current thing that's going on and what's going to happen in the future, because that stuff is mapped out. The astrologists and all these people, it's already mapped out. I got certain stuff in my book that I got where the planet's going to be at 2 years and 9 months from now, and what the Earth is going to be going through at that time. So you have to take the time out to look into that and say, okay, so when I understand when the planets are here, the moon is here, this women are not the only ones affected by the moon every 28 to 30 days. Trust me. And when you get into the natal information, you start realizing that, and that means we was ignorant. We was told by society, somebody in society made sure to make us think that the moon only affects women during their period, or when you want to go on a honeymoon, or somebody want to be a vampire or a wolf or a lunatic. You got small little things that they'll see the moon affects people on. That's a lie. Because the moon does a lot of other things, just like the sun does a lot of other things, and the rest of the planets do a whole lot of other things every day, every week, every month, every year. And these people have plotted this stuff already. So if you want to know what your life is going to do, that's what you got to look into. It's very important. That's the thing. That's why you ain't really seen me, because I've been heavily studying myself and the natal charts, and then lead into other things. Because you know me, Trip. I get busy. I get busy. I just follow stuff, but then I'll come back and then I'm able to look and say, okay, well, this is why this is happening. That's why I was telling y'all February 5th, 2022 was it. No more smoke screens. All these people are gonna come right in front of you and say, hey, my name is Bacchus. Hey, my name is this kind of God. My name, but guess what? Most people are going to look at them and think that these people are just Looney Tunes. No, these are actual gods who are prancing around, jumping from body to body, causing these people to do certain things. But we've been so ill educated that we don't understand spirituality, because spirits are invisible. If anybody got any experience with any type of religion, they'll tell you that spirits are invisible unless they want to be seen. So it's easy to read, let's say, the Bible and say, okay, Jesus did this, and most people, it's easy in retrospect for you to look at that because you're reading it. But imagine living in the same time, and those people you reading about was saying the same thing that Eligio and Dr. Oakland was saying. That I went and talked to, I was out here minding my business, and a burning bush started burning, and God spoke to me from the burning bush. Now people will read that and say, oh man, that was powerful, that was God. But then if somebody in your day and time tell you the same thing, you're gonna say, man, you out your mind. So you have to understand, well, why is it okay for me to read something that said that 1,000 years ago? I wasn't there for that. But when somebody else says something crazy, it's crazy when they say it, but it made sense when I read it. That means something is wrong with the person, because the person doesn't understand spirituality. Because any book you read that tells you that all this stuff happened, oh, Moses split the sea, you believe that, and it sounds nice, and they put movies out there and made people like, yeah, or Prophet Muhammad took his 2 fingers and did like that, and the moon split, and he did that and came back together. But Nature Boy can tell you I'm God, and everybody got a problem with that. Something is wrong here.
Now God couldn't keep himself out of jail.
Yeah, but a lot of the gods in ancient times did foul stuff. Zeus was a rapist, but he was the Roman top god. You got all these gods in ancient Egypt. Osiris slept with his sister. He was married to his sister Isis. He still was a god. So when Nature Boy said that Velvet and this other chick was Isis and that's his daughter and his wife, I don't understand why is it that people don't seem to see the craziness when they read about this same type of stuff in a different culture. Because I can pull up any god you want to name that's supposed to be on top of. You can do a Google search and type in incest gods. Like Dr. York, he was talking about Incan and Lil and the Sumerian, and they believe and they had stuff in there that Incan and Lil wives, they raped them and then they married them. Or Anu was married to his sister and his half sister. We can go on and on and on and on and on.
Okay, but how did we get into religion, Tarnuna?
Because it's all based in religion. Because religion, you don't have to be in a religion to be influenced by the magical properties of it. That's what I'm trying to say. Religion is more than just some people going to a building, reading out a book. Those books are spells. Those books, those words have power. This is why they draw millions of people every year. And like, look at the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church it's been proven that church, that organization is horrible. And people would deny it.
Also doesn't match the Bible it claims to follow.
It had, but they got books
that a lot of tenets in the New Testament. It don't classify as what it pretends to be.
But the Catholic religion got books that y'all ain't never seen either. They the reason why the book look like I look. But again, we talking about power though, because me and you can read.
Okay, hold on, pause. So you say they got books that are hidden, and that's why the book that we have now is like it is, right?
Yes.
So that means hold on, wait, I'm asking a question.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that they had to start out with something in order to revise something. You have to start off with something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what was that something?
That was the information that the Greeks and the Romans had got out of ancient Egypt. When that information came back, like, see, you have to go before 325 AD when they decided to create Christianity. You had a couple of 100 years, 300 years or so, where the philosophers were like Socrates and Plotinus and all these different people. These Greek philosophers was going into Egypt for hundreds of years, all the way since Alexander, and they was getting information coming back and teaching and challenging what the Romans and them was using. Rome didn't have a religion. They was following what they was following Zoroastrianism with a little bit of Hinduism. And then they was battling them, and they was locking up their philosophers and killing them because the knowledge they was bringing back came from Africa and darker peoples. So they took, once Alexander got in there, and they took all that stuff out of Alexandria and kept a lot of those scrolls and stuff and burned everything else. They took what we had already laid down for thousands of years and constructed what they put out and what they kept, and then they kept whitewashing it. So the truth is, what we dealt with, when you go in Africa, we dealt with magic. We dealt with spirit gods. That's what I'm trying to tell you. They took those gods who changed their names and started working with those gods, and they rewrite it. The gods was working with those people to change their names, to update it for the time that they were in and the people they were in. So when those of us who study enough knows that the gods in the Bible up to date is the same gods that were back in ancient times with Africans and Asia. That's all. It's no different. That's why I can say Tahuti, Thoth, Hermes is the same god, or Mercury, Zeus, Ra, same god. You see what I'm saying? It's just understanding that through knowing, having a lot of knowledge and spirituality and helping with that, you're able to say, okay, all they did was change names, and the powers of those gods was helping these group of people. And that's why we are still stuck, because the magic of the power of these books, like the New Testament, is nothing but the first 4 books of the New Testament was based off of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Now, if you understand what the Egyptian Book of the Dead is, it's a book of spells. It talks about prayers to Osiris and Ra and these different gods when you die. In the 4 books of the New Testament, especially the book of John, all of that was based off of that. But if you don't understand that, then what I'm telling you, this is why religion has people to keep coming in, because all they did was change the name of the gods, and they turned the spells and they just turn them into more of a storyline versus you reading it saying, "Oh, Ra, X, Y, and Z protect my soul when I go into the underworld." Same thing what Catholics do. So instead of saying Ra protect my soul, they'll say Jesus protect my soul, so I don't go to purgatory, or I gotta go, or as I walk through the valley of death. You know that comes from the Book of Gates, where Ra goes to the underworld. That's a valley, and comes out on the other side every 24 hours. The sun goes to hell and come back out. Religion have the same belief because our information predate their stuff. So if you don't understand that, then people just gonna keep separating it and not understanding that religion is the secret clandestine worship of nature and its powers. What we was doing in Africa is called pantheism, and that means we was, when you talk about worshiping, say Ra was a force of nature because you talk about what? The sun. So you have a sun god, but scientifically that's a star and the energy. You see, you talk about, you know, a water god, or Happy was the river god of the Nile. These are forces of nature. Religion took away that and just made you look at the spirit and personify that as a person. Or God is a spirit, but God is a power. You can't name a God that don't have a force. God is a God of love. Okay, that's an energy. But if they go deeper into it, they're gonna start exposing the secret that this stuff is no different than what we was doing back then. The names have changed. The same way people in Haiti, when they was in slavery, they just took those gods from voodoo and just gave them saints names, but the powers is still the same. Just because you call Ligba another Saint Peter or whatever, it doesn't change the spirit power. It's just they use those new names to hide what they really was doing. Same thing. It's no different. That's all I'm saying. So it's magic, spells. So if you listen to the information that Nature Boy was spitting, because I'm very aware and knowledgeable of the stuff he's talking about, the spirit speaking through him was very on point with my understanding. Those who are not spiritually aware or educated, he sounds like he's just saying a bunch of nothing, but that's not true. You see what I'm saying? It's a lie. And that's the issue that I'm trying to tell people. They don't understand that. They don't get it. It's a lie. Of course, the spirit will tell a couple of things or make it appear like they just saying a bunch of stuff. But if you look at my Nature Boy 3 God videos, I show you in the knowledge and information that Alpha Uno wrote all the way back in the 60s. Nature Boy was saying those things. And he don't read Noon. He didn't never get into our books. And he was completely, I confirmed the stuff that he was saying. The physical person is not a God. The individual spirit or spirits in him was. But just because you're using the term God doesn't make the person positive. The word God in Noon just means a boss with supernatural power. But he didn't have no supernatural power, or the spirit didn't display supernatural power to the onlookers. But who knows what the spirit would do behind closed doors? We're assuming that these people are just saying things and they just playing games and they just sound nuts. But they ain't no nuttier than anybody who reading a book 1,000 years ago believed that a man walked on water. What's the difference? You ain't got no proof either way. You ain't got no proof that the person in your day and time say he a God, he didn't prove it. You see what I'm saying? What's the difference? So
I don't know. God ain't gonna be walking around disintegrating in front of our eyes. That's how I know he ain't God.
Again, according to what lens? You talking about Christianity, Islam?
No,
because it's mad religions that give you crazy stories of their gods doing a whole bunch of stuff. Gods turning into sheep, gods turning into bulls, gods turning into snakes. You know, gods turning into women.
They always turned into the prime example of that.
According to the writings, but no one
according to the writings.
Right, but the writings can't be considered true because there ain't no proof. They just writings at this point. That's
So
like,
then how can you compare that to Nature Boy? Because Nature Boy's sitting here in front of our eyes.
right,
I'm
because
saying he got the fucking drops. He's in front of our eyes. I ain't never heard no guy walking around looking like that. Now I done heard of an avatar burning they vehicle out. I've heard of that.
it's different stuff
That's
though.
called being indwelt. Yeah.
It's different, but what I'm saying is these are different levels of forces that, like I said, everything that they say doesn't mean that it's true in the sense, in the context. That's like when he came on Sarnetta.
Everything that come out that thing mouth is lying.
Not all of it. Like when he went
When
to
it puts
Sarnetta,
it
right?
together, it's a lie.
Let me give you an example. When he came to Sarnetta and said, "I'm all y'all God," I explained to them because he kept throwing Osiris around. I understood that because number one, I know what Osiris is. I know that not only does the Sarnetta got Osiris statue in his house, he has people that come there that promotes Kemet, and they got people that's on his show that wear Osiris' name, and also in Noon Science, Osiris also is responsible for creating mental death amongst a lot of people, especially black folks. So when he said that, most people took it as him saying, "I'm your God," like he's your God in the religious standpoint, like I created you. No, what he meant was to say spiritually and mentally, I'm y'all God, because all of y'all over here keep talking about religion. Osiris created religion, but most of y'all don't know how that was done. So I'm saying things that would be
That little
considered.
spiel that he gives right there, that's the same spiel Jim Jones done gave. That's the same spiel David Koresh done gave.
And
That's
guess
the
what that
same
means?
one they all gave.
Guess what that means, though? That
Mm.
means that they have familiar spirits, because all them people you name, all of them people wasn't studying each other. So that's what we mean by spirits can go from body to body and use different people, but the pattern or the conversation is the same. That's why you can probably go find somebody on another side of the world who never heard of York, Nature Boy, Jim Jones, none of these people, and they'll be doing and saying the same thing.
Because there's somebody in the area already doing the same thing.
Because it's a
Barbie
spirit
didn't
thing.
originate over here. Sweet Daddy Grace didn't originate over here. Far didn't originate over here.
Because of the spiritual influence. That's what I'm saying, Trip. It's because of the spiritual influence. Spirits been here before human beings. They've been around and they do these things. That's why we keep seeing the same pattern. That's why I gave you the example of the drug dealer. The drug dealer in California ain't studying the drug dealer in Detroit. He ain't saying, "Oh, I want to be like Big Meech." You got a lot of people we don't even know, but other people seen, but they still do the same thing. It's like a corrupt cop. A corrupt cop do the same thing. He sit there, he find a way to do this and this, that, and
when
then
electricity was invented, one person didn't invent it. A couple of people invented it at the same time spontaneously with no contact from each other.
Again, spirit forces is the key.
This is how things originate in different parts.
But it's not spontaneous though, because it still has to have a source.
When I say spontaneous, I'm just saying at that time, we don't know.
I'm saying spirits though. Spirits is the reason, and even then, spirits have a purpose, and that's what I'm telling you. They program and control human beings to do these things. That's why it's done. Then you got to go into fate, destiny. Like you said, you got some people was born to be Malcolm. Everybody's born to be who they are. Whether we become big or not, you already have a life path that you're following. That's what I'm telling you. So
so let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. If these spirits are running around doing all this, mm-hmm. who are they doing it for?
It depends on the planet that's controlling them. That's why I was telling you about natal charts, because now
each set of spirits is connected to a planet.
Right. And a planet is using them to do certain things. Like if you look into if you go deep enough, you'll find that certain cult leaders had the same zodiac sign. And they do the same thing. And it connected to a planet. That's why natal charts is so important, because it extends past just you as a person. It also connects to the spirit, and these planets can switch spirits out and it depends on their rotation, where they at in the heavens at a certain time. All of that stuff is why I said what I said about 40 minutes ago about natal chart information. Because if we don't understand that, you're not going to understand the world surrounding you.
But what about people that aren't able to get their natal charts?
But I'm saying, that's life. But I'm saying, but as far as us is concerned,
but you saying you need to have that to understand. But if you can't get it, that's life.
Right, it's because I can't do it because I don't know when the time they was born. That's
that's what I'm saying. For people like that, for people don't know where they was born, what time they was born, stuff, they cannot go out and get a natal chart done because they do not have that information.
Right. They only if they know their birthday, you can get close. But I'm saying just studying you. But even if you go beyond that, like I said, just studying the planets and the degrees and learning about the zodiac and astrology and astronomy. All of that stuff would lead into you just naturally being able to see the world by looking inward. That's if that makes sense. By me studying myself, I'm automatically able to see outside, and then it makes more sense. And guess what? It makes what I'm telling you. Me studying my natal chart makes me behave a little different in my interactions with people because now I realize, wow. I didn't know this about me, and I've been trying to be responsible based off the little knowledge that I had. Now I want to be more responsible. So that means once I realize how deep it goes for me, and then I'm in a sea of people who have no idea about none of that. That means they winging it. I don't want to be. Now that makes me uncomfortable because I realize that these people is like being in the Matrix. That the Agent Smith can now jump into any of these people and do something to me because the person's mind guard is down and these energies are flowing in and out based upon whatever those orbs are at in their life. And so because I know how it's affecting me, I'm identifying the planets that do certain things that's causing me to behave a certain way or behave a certain way. I'm becoming more aware of it. This is why I'm wearing certain crystals now. And I'm looking at things a certain kind of way. And that makes me be more responsible to myself. And in turn, I'm being responsible to others who are unaware. But now I have to realize that that's a double work now. Because I know that like I said, if I meet a female and she's saying all these things to me, my question is different now. I don't care about who you are or how you look. Now I'm asking, what do you know about you? And if you can't tell me that, we ain't got nothing else to talk about. I'm gonna find the quickest exit I can because we ain't got nothing to talk about because I know how dangerous that is. You see what I'm saying? Just like spiritually speaking, natal chart speaking, knowing that's how I look at that. And that's how those of us who really understand the message that I'm giving, please look into that because it will show you exactly how much we don't know about ourselves and how we're being influenced. That's what we keep talking about. Everything y'all looking at with York and all these other people, all of us are under the same group of planets that did different things to us, and they're running around being unchecked for a long time. But now they're being checked now. But the thing is, there's stuff that exists that they already done, people in these websites done plotted how long this stuff will be, how long it's gonna go on. I'm looking into that. That's why I'm so okay, cool. That's why I gave y'all the year February 5th, 2025. Because that's how far in the future I done look ahead. I'm looking at these natal charts. Because I understand that. And that science is bigger than big because it just balloons into so many other areas. I can't study all that stuff. I don't have all the time. But what I did study, I'm utilizing that to tell y'all that take your time, look into you, look at you. See, a lot of stuff that Nature Boy was saying, he really wasn't aware of what he was saying. But the spirit was dropping jewels when he talk about yourself, knowing yourself. Remember, you used to say that, myself, my higher self, my lower self. But the point is your inner self is what you need to be looking at. The spirit likes to give you half truths. So if you're looking at yourself split, you'll never be able to get it like that. Know your inner self. There's no higher and lower you. That people, these are things that people just don't really get the gist of the deception. I understand that. Your inner self, know who you are. 'Cause that's the only thing you can do. My higher self, if there's a split between me, I can never be to study that because it's higher. But I can study my inner self because I can feel myself. I can look into my thoughts. My real me is in here. So if I know if I did something wrong, I go in here. My brain here. My thoughts I don't feel my thoughts going in here and going up there or going down here. My thoughts are right here. My heart is right here. I can pull up my past. I can look at certain things that I can't remember and I can play the tape back and say, okay, I did that. I need to fix that. That's the point because we also have to start not getting so locked in to other people who obviously are disturbed, but Nature Boy is living out his path. York lived out his path. Elijah lived out his path. Warren lived out his path. All of us are doing the same thing, but some of us are not looking into ourselves. That's where we plan ourselves. Because the more we keep worrying, it's one thing to report wrongdoing, right? But it's another thing to not look at the wrong that we're gonna do because we're failing to look into ourselves. So we're just as guilty of Nature Boy now because we ain't looking at ourselves. If you don't know that you can be influenced by outside influences and that you're gonna be doing wrong later on, well, who's gonna keep you, the person, in check? While we worry about checking the outside person who's obviously being controlled. That's inner reflection. Because I'm looking at me. I'm talking about myself at this point. But I'm just putting it out there toward everybody else and not trying to offend anybody or disrespect anybody. But that's called self-growth. And self-growth only comes from self-analysis and then self-acceptance. And then once you accept certain things about yourself, then you start accepting what you can correct. And then you move forward from there and try to be the best version of yourself and keep revising yourself as much as you can, if that makes sense. Yeah, like we said, to accept your humaneness. Yourself is both the mind and the body. There are chemicals and electric pulses involved. Yourself is what leads people open to codes and manipulation. There's nothing to find for purpose such as criticism, comment, news report, copyright. Easy. Are you okay? Who?
That's jaded.
Okay. Yeah, some of that stuff was good. Yeah, people got to get into that. But that's a personal thing. People have to go into that. And unfortunately, those people that escaped Nature Boy, some of them have been going through a transformation since then. Sometimes it takes that, and it'll trigger something in you. And in the natal chart, they have something called your Chiron. And Chiron it activates certain traumas in your present life that'll connect back to something that happened to you during childhood. And when you go back into your childhood, you will see the root of something that took place when you was younger that led up to why you never healed that. And so you're gonna keep running to a traumatic situation every so often, right? The wounded healer, right? And then you have to look and say, oh, that's what that is. This is what I'm saying. Thank you, Jaded. This is why people need to understand the natal chart information that I'm saying. And those people, like Jaded, those people know exactly what I'm talking about because it's very important. This is why your show trip is one of the best shows because you're like a hub because you have so many different people that comes in. It is like different things come out. And I like it because you have certain guests that just they'll come out and they'll confirm certain things, and it's a great thing. What the other person said? Could you repeat that, please? What is he talking about? What is Jane? What is it that you
Jane
want
talking
me
to Jaded. I think Jane is asking Jaded to translate for him.
When the Jane go and dig into your natal chart, okay? What you have to do is go into your natal chart, and on your natal chart, it will have all of the planets that was there in your zodiac houses, because there's 1 through 12. So some planets will be in certain houses grouped up. Some will be in a zodiac house by itself. But Chiron is called the skeleton key in certain astrology
He said
schools.
that was a word you used.
Okay, could you? There was a word you used. I don't know. I said a lot of words. But yeah, with going to your natal chart and start learning the placements of those orbs and stars or comets, asteroids. It depends on which one you use, and learn that. Somebody, I don't see. I'm echoing.
Oh, sorry. Hold on.
Okay. All right. Okay. It stopped echoing. Okay. It still wasn't that bad, but yeah, that's the thing. Hold on. Let me put that in there. What you call it? So if you go in there on your natal chart, it's just go anywhere. I use AstroSeek. You can use AstroSeek. It's different ones. Can you hear me, Trip, still?
Yeah, I can hear you. My mic
Okay,
just muted.
okay, I'm just making sure. So yeah, so it's I'm not gonna lie to you. It is a lot. It's gonna look like Chinese arithmetic. It's gonna look like the meta netta in a circle with all types of lines going back and forth. It's a lot. So you're gonna have to just take time, be patient with yourself. And when you do, you'll thank me for it. You will. It's very important that you do that. Learn yourself, because doing that, it'll make everything better for you. It really would. Okay, that's another one right there. Claudia.com. See, Jaded on it. Jaded is on it. Jaded is on it. Doggone it. Yep. That's a beautiful thing, because we need to know more about ourselves, because like I said, that wounded healer, that was deep when I found out about it. You know, um, it's I'm dipping my toe in the Vedic astrology too, because they got a lot of stuff over there, and I'm looking into the Egyptian version as well, because all of this stuff is basically the same. In Noon Science, we got a lot on it too. It's just intricacies. Noon deals with a big zodiac that goes into the millions of years, as well as the body parts. But the astrology that the Western world and the Eastern worlds use is way lesser forms of time. So that's what I wanted to talk about. So anybody had anything that they want to discuss? I know what's going on for a minute. Drama free. Because if anything else, I mean, I can I can step down and let somebody else do their thing.
So we're gonna have to close out soon. I got work in the morning.
That sounds like a plan. Then I was definitely glad to come through and.
Always glad to have you.
Okay, if you don't mind, I want to definitely take this section out that I was going in on the NATO and use it. If you don't mind.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I appreciate
Oh,
it.
excuse me.
All right, so if ain't nothing else for me to say, I'll close out. True peace to everybody, and I'll see y'all on the next go round.
This is CCCTreehouse, where it's always swinging, and we're out.